Good evening, you're tuned into Business Day right here on ET Now with me, Avan Dabash. Let's get a sense as to how the markets shut this Tuesday before we take you through the top headlines. Well, there was a good intraday recovery for the frontline indices and we managed to conquer 6,000 on the upside, largely led by the defenses. Market breadth though remained weak and it was fairly volatile for the broader markets. In terms of a total turnover, close to 1.4 lakh crore rupees. So 6,001, that's where the Nifty shut shop. The Sensex higher by 51 points at 19,742. Lots of big stories for today. We'll keep you up to speed after the top headlines. The Prime Minister admits that the slowdown in the economy may continue with a less than 6% growth next year. And the bad news doesn't end there. Fitch renews its warning on India, saying the economy may face a downgrade in the next 1 to 2 years, with the government set to miss the fiscal deficit target. A week after the telecom department sends notices to Bharti, Idea and Vodafone, asking them to pay up for excess spectrum, telcos cry foul and prepare for a legal battle. JSW Energy emerges as the sole bidder for Lanco Infra's power plant in Karnataka. ET now learns that JSW is willing to pay 1,300 crore rupees for the plant. The taxman dials Nokia. IT officials inspect the mobile phone maker's operations in Chennai over claims that it owes $540 million in unpaid taxes. C. Rangarajan's pitch to hike taxes for the super rich doesn't find favour with the finance minister. Sources tell ET now that he isn't keen on an income tax hike in the budget and believes that taxing the rich more will not add more to the revenue. Those were the top headlines at 4 to our top story then, and Prime Minister Manmohan Singh today admitted that growth may slip below 6% this fiscal. Reiterating that India is not immune to the global crisis and the growth path is challenging, he said that efforts are on to improve the government's fiscal health. Let's hear him out.
From an impressive average annual GDP growth rate of over 8% from 2004 and 2010, our growth declined to 6.5% in 2011-12 and may fall below 6% in the current year. On January 1 this year, we took a small first step to deliver benefits through direct transfers to beneficiaries using the digital Aadhaar platform. This is an example of our efforts to make growth more inclusive.
Not just that, today you had ratings agency Fitch, which said that the Indian economy may be faced with a ratings downgrade in the next 1 to 2 years, as the government is likely to miss its fiscal deficit target for the current year. Fitch believes that India's recent macroeconomic trends have also been disappointing and concerns remain over India's slowing growth and persistent inflationary pressures. It has pegged India's growth for the current fiscal year at 6%. Meanwhile, the finance minister, though, is unfazed by the threat of rating agencies. The Department of Economic Affairs Secretary, Arvind Mayaram, said, "We are not worried and we have been saying that we are on the right track. But people still distrust us and ask whether we will be able to achieve fiscal deficit target. We will adhere to the fiscal consolidation roadmap." Well, those comments from Fitch certainly sent the rupee lower, reinforcing worries that India is still at a risk of losing its investment grade rating from the credit agency. The rupee is also having a weak day in trade on the back of renewed dollar demand from banks as we speak, is at 55.1 against the greenback. The volatile equity markets, that also weighed down on the currency, and most of the traders expect continued dollar demand from oil importers to impact the rupee. Sonal Verma, in fact, India economist at Nomura Financial Advisory Services and Securities, said that India may only grow at 5.5% this fiscal as high food inflation continues to remain a cause of concern.
Well, our forecast for this year is 5.5 and 6.2 for next year. I think, Our view is that it cannot be another consumption-led growth recovery in India. We've seen too much consumption, not enough investment, and one of the reasons why we are in this problem of high inflation and a high current account deficit is that the consumption investment gap has been widening too sharply. If we need to correct some of these imbalances, then the recovery in India has to be more investment-led and not consumption-led. As long as food inflation stays high, and food is a big component for any household in India, expectations remain high, and which basically causes inflation to be sticky.
Meantime, let's get a view as to how the equity markets shaped up for today. Well, it was a fairly volatile day of trade, though we did manage to see a good recovery by the end of the day, conquering 6,000 on the upside. For the broader markets too, it was a fairly volatile session. You had the mid-cap index though, which ended very quiet, and the small-cap index didn't even manage to breach the green line. In terms of sectoral movers, it was FMCG as well as real estate on the way up, and on the downside there was continued pressure on the metals index as well as consumer durables. Some of the top gainers included Reliance Infrastructure, HDFC, ITC held its head up high throughout the entire session, and BHEL witnessed a bit of recovery. Some stocks in news for today. PVR was up a good 10% by the day's close. You also had Cinemax, which hit its 52-week high of 202, as PVR today acquired controlling stake in Cinemax via a block deal via Cine Hospitality Private Limited, which is a wholly owned subsidiary. So 2 block deals took place at 1.86 lakh crore shares were changed, pardon me. United Spirits, in fact, the entire UV group of stocks, United Spirits, United Breweries, UB Holdings, all of them were down and out on reports that Diageo may now have to push back the open offer, and it's yet to still get regulatory approvals from the CCI, the SEBI, as well as the Reserve Bank of India, and perhaps looking to end the transaction in the 4th quarter of FY13. Jindal Stainless, that rallied smartly. The import duty on stainless steel will certainly benefit the company. Came off from the high point of the day, but went home with a gain of 3%. From defensives, Marico stood out once again as Kotak Securities says that the hiked price, it hiked the target price to 240 from an earlier 220. It put an ad rating and said that the Kaya demerger is going to create value for the company. Not just that, Citi also upgraded the counter to a buy from a sell. EduComp was in focus. In the fag end of the session, there was a good spurt up in the stock prices you can see on your screens as they plan to sell an entire 50% stake in Eurokids to GPE India. Shipping Corp also saw a similar move as they are going to raise Europe's freight rate by 300 euros TEU from the month of February. Kingfisher Airlines once again under pressure as reports indicated that the lenders will be dragging the airline to court over unpaid dues. Remember, it owes 7,000 crore rupees to the lenders and has not paid an interest on the loan for over a year. Mahindra Satyam too, similar fate, as a winding up petition against Satyam was filed in the Andhra Pradesh High Court yesterday by IL and FS unit, and the petition alleges a default in the payment of 23 crores by Satyam. Some of the other index losers, IDFC succumbed to a bout of selling pressure. Wipro didn't manage to hold out. Tata Steel as well as Sesagua from metals lingered in the red. On that note, time to get in some market perspectives, starting off with Manishi Ray Chaudhary of BNP Paribas, who believes that the Sensex could see a level of 21,300 by the end of the year.
In 2013, I'm quantifying, saying that the market target is somewhere around 21,300 to 21,500, which is about 10 to 12% return. And in the IT services space within India, we currently have an overweight. And one of the reasons for that is we think that over the longer term, maybe not immediately, but over the longer term, the orders towards the Indian IT companies are likely to increase.
What we've seen over the last 3 to 6 months really is a reinvigorated government trying to fix the fisc. And I think as that begins to play out, whether it is through Aadhaar or whether it is through a reduction in subsidies, primarily on the diesel side, etc., I think the market will get more and more confident. One could be cautiously optimistic in the short term, but I think, but in the long term, as inflation begins to come down, as the rate cut cycle begins to kick in, I think this market will have much more legs than where we are today.
Moving on then, let's get a view from Navneet Saluja, who joins in from our research team as to how the F&O activity shaped up for today. Volumes fairly better than yesterday, Navneet.
That's right, Avan. The volumes were better. The participation was good today. If you look at the turnover in the F&O space on NSE towards the end, it was over 1 lakh crore. And good closing coming in there for the markets. If you look at the January futures, they closed at 60.42. Remember, during the day, they slipped below that crucial level of about 6,000. So the first half was about profit booking, and you saw some kind of renewed buying coming in the second half of the trading session. Even the premium on the futures expanded to about 40 points. And during the day, we saw built up of about 3.4 lakh shares for the Nifty January futures. And looking at the options data, a lot of put writing was seen, on back of which you had the Nifty PCR inching upwards to about 1.04. It was the 5800 put strike which added maximum open interest of about 7.8 lakh shares. On the call side, you saw addition coming in at about 6100 strike which added 3.8 lakh shares. So the range for the Nifty, which the options data is suggesting, is 5800 on the downside to 6200 on the upside, and the trend remains on the upside. And if you look at the stock futures, among the Nifty gainers, you had Reliance Infra, HDFC and ITC, which did well in today's trading session. Long positions were being built up for these counters, and also the pharma space was quite active. So stocks like Cipla and Sun Pharma were up in today's trading session. On the short side, you had IDFC and Wipro, where short positions were seen. And from the mid-cap space, you saw short positions being built up for Titan Industries and Biocon, and long positions were seen in Unitech, Voltas and Reliance Communication, which did well. Arcom was up by about close to 3% in today's trading session. Also, Voltas and OFSS were up, and long positions were seen on the future side. In terms of open interest gainers, you had Bhushan Steel, Titan Industries, Colgate and L&T.
Thanks very much, Navneet, for bringing us the latest in the F&O space. Moving on then to the telecom space, which has been a buzz, and just a week after the telecom department sent notices to operators like Bharti Airtel, Idea Cellular and Vodafone asking to pay a one-time fee for excess spectrum, the telecom companies cried foul, and sources tell ET Now that they're now preparing to move court. Let's get in Gauri Dwivedi, who joins in from New Delhi with the latest developments. Gauri, what are the telco companies' now next course of action on this?
The next course of action is a legal recourse. The companies will move court, remains to be seen. In fact, there is still deliberations as to whether it should be the tribunal, Telecom Tribunal TDSAT, where telcos go first, or should it actually be the Delhi High Court, where they should go and seek legal recourse. Remember, this is a very, very big issue. It has been ratified. It's a policy decision now. It has been ratified by the Union Cabinet. But if you were to take a look at the numbers, then we get a sense of the kind of hit that telecom companies will take on account of this one-time fee. For Bharti Airtel, it's upwards of 5,100 crore. For Vodafone, it's a little under 2,900 crore. For Idea Cellular, it's a little over 2,100 crore rupees. So you're talking about massive hit for these companies, which is why they will seek legal recourse. They will challenge this in either the Delhi High Court or in TDSAT. More importantly, because these notices were sent out by the DoT to individual companies, petitions will be filed by the companies individually, challenging this entire policy on two grounds. One is, of course, that what are really the powers of the government to come and charge a one-time fee when it was actually the government itself which is the licensor which granted this spectrum in the previous regime. And secondly, also, it violates the very concept of license conditions, a license agreement, which is for a 20-year period in which license conditions cannot be unilaterally changed. So these are really the two big things that companies will use as their arguments when they challenge this. It's likely to be done in the next 3 to 4 days when they will seek legal recourse and try and stop this, something that will be a huge hit on their books.
Okay, legal recourse will be sought in the next 3 to 4 days. Thanks very much, Gauri, for giving us those details. Now, Lanco could finally get lucky in selling its power unit in Karnataka. Sources tell ET Now that JSW Energy has emerged as a sole bidder. Let's take it straight to our Mumbai newsroom, where Nisha Podar is standing by to get us the exclusive details. Nisha, starting off with what could be the deal size and at what stage is the deal?
Right, Avan. Sources who are directly linked with this particular development and this deal do tell me at this point that 1,300 crore rupees is what JSW Energy has offered to buy the UDP unit or the power unit of Lanco, which is situated in Karnataka. Now remember, this unit has been up for sale for a very long time. Lanco has been trying to raise cash by selling off some of the assets. Now this one had Adani Power also in the fray, and that particular company has walked out. So JSW Energy as well as Lanco in close negotiation negotiations at this point. For Lanco, it makes a lot of sense because at this point, the lenders are really pushing them to get rid of some of the assets and bring down their debt levels, which is huge on the books. Now, with this deal, 1,300 crore rupees will be going in to Lanco as equity. But the rest of the over 5,000 crore rupees of debt on this project, UDP, which has about 1,200 megawatts of power capacity in Karnataka, which is based on imported coal, that is something that is going to be taken over by the company which buys it. And at the moment, JSW Energy is in negotiations for that. For JSW Energy, it has units in Karnataka and it makes strategic sense. But at this moment, JSW Energy sources do tell me that they are negotiating because there are a few worries and a few teething points which they really want to clear out before signing on the dotted line, which includes the huge SEB dues on this particular project and also some of the concerns coming in from approvals when it comes to the project cost approval from CERC or environmental approval. So those are the few pointers that JSW Energy is closely looking at this point, but both the companies in close negotiations.
Thanks very much, Nisha, for bringing us those exclusive details. So JSW Energy, the sole bidder for the Karnataka power unit of Lanco. Meantime, tax troubles for handset maker Nokia. Top IT officials have told ET Now that it's combing through Nokia's premises in Chennai to establish a tax evasion by the Finnish company. Now remember, Nokia's plant in Tamil Nadu is the biggest in the world. We've got Chandra R. Srikanth in Bangalore standing by with the latest details. A big setback for Nokia, Chandra.
That's right, Avan. What we've picked up from sources in the IT department is that they have initiated this verification or survey, as they call it, since 8:45 a.m. in the morning, and it is expected to continue through the day. They are trying to establish if Nokia India has indulged in tax evasion to the tune of almost 3,000 crore rupees, and they are probing this under Section 133A of the IT Act. So this is clearly a setback for Nokia because remember their Chennai plant is their biggest in the world, and this is coming at a time when Nokia is already facing the heat on the business front, especially from Apple and Samsung. But as far as the outcome is concerned, IT officials tell us that it will be known only in a day or two because their verification process is expected to continue through the day. Nokia India, meanwhile, is yet to get back with a statement, and a statement from them is expected later in the day.
Thanks very much, Chandra, for keeping us up to speed with the latest details of Nokia. Moving away from that, and in a radical pitch to hike taxes for the super rich, that was made by C. Rangarajan, the Prime Minister's economic advisor. But highly placed sources in the Ministry of Finance tell ET Now that it doesn't find much favor with the Finance Minister, P. Chidambaram. Let's get in Supriya Srineta, policy editor, who joins in now live from New Delhi with more details. Supriya.
You're right. We're given to understand by our top sources that despite these radical pitches that are being made by many economists, including C. Rangarajan, the finance minister is rather unimpressed. He doesn't believe that hiking taxes at this stage is perhaps a good thing to do. He believes this will only vitiate sentiment, and he's one of the firm believers that a moderate tax rate and high compliance will get in bigger revenues than higher tax rates, and which is why it's very unlikely he's going to tinker with taxes too much as far as this union budget is concerned. We're also given to understand that he may indeed expand his list or the base of tax pays, but he's unlikely to tinker with slabs. It's also important to remember here that India has a very, very small tax base, just about 3.5 crore Indians, which is less than 3% of the total population are actually tax pays. Add to that the fact that it was Mr. Chidambaram who had in 1997 brought down the tax slab from 40% to 30%. Unlikely that a tax hike finds favor with the man in charge of India's finances.
Thanks very much, Supriya, for giving us those details. So from what we understand, the finance minister as of now not in favor of a hike. Exactly. And it's a testing time for retailers as the spurt in momentum witnessed during the sale season has started to sputter. Krishna Kumar reports on how companies are gearing up to get shoppers back this new year.
It's a year of hope for retailers. After a long dry spell which was marred by poor offtake and low margins, the just concluded festive season has brought the smile back with promotions and discounts bringing shoppers back to the malls. But analysts say it's too early to party as there are no clear signs of a bounce back in consumer sentiment.
There was a slight sort of upbeat momentum in Diwali. That has sort of not carried on till December. Sales have subdued. It's not sort of translated into equal optimism. I think barring a few exceptions of wedding seasons coming into play, and some shopping around weddings. But apart from that, the mood is not very upbeat.
Retailers on their part are trying harder than ever to ensure the year kicks off on a good note. End of season sales, which usually start around Feb-March, are now being advanced to January to rake in volumes.
Because of the good response we have got in the earlier season, and we wanted to launch our spring as early as possible to continue the momentum which is there in the market by giving a good collection to the customer. Hence we had preponed the end of season sale.
While discounts and freebies have always increased the footfalls, the conversion rate has been rather low. For retailers, the challenge now is to convert the store rush into revenues. Krishna Kumar, ET Now, Mumbai.
Meantime, consumer electronics maker Samsung has got a massive boost from the sales of its Galaxy smartphones to post a record quarterly profit of $8.3 billion. This marks the fifth straight quarter of record profits for Samsung, which sells close to 500 handsets a minute. Sales rose 18% as Galaxy sales outpaced the iPhone 5 sales figures. Samsung is expected to increase its smartphone sales by more than a third this year and widen its lead over Apple. To the latest in the sporting arena, and it's only the second week of the new year and Lionel Messi has already started breaking records. The Argentina and Barcelona striker picked up his fourth Ballon d'Or in a row. That's the most by any player, with 41% of the votes in his favor. Messi topped the list, followed by Real Madrid star Cristiano Ronaldo and Barcelona teammate Andreas Iniesta. Though 2012 wasn't a year for trophies for Messi, he did have a fantastic run on an individual basis. He ended 2012 as the highest goal scorer with 91 goals to his name. Still only 25 years old, it's only a matter of time before we start running out of adjectives to associate with the little magician. On that positive note, we wrap it up right here on Business Day. Thanks so much for watching.